Happy Wednesday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live. Of course, I am your professor, and today we're talking about pain, shame, rumors, and more. It's going to be a jam-packed show today on WWT Live.
I am your forever ROH Women's Champion, your fallen goddess, the Alpha, the Minion, Overlord, the ROH Gatekeeper. But most of all, I am the best in the world, Athena, and you are watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Happy Wednesday, good people. It's the middle of the week, but there's always plenty happening in the world of pro wrestling. I am your professor, Gerard Bonner, GB, Teflon G, whatever it is you decide to call me. But you don't really care about my name. You care about the names of the people hanging out with me today because there's a lot to talk about. Everything from Raw, NXT, getting ready for Dynamite tonight. And we've got an interesting update on WrestleMania. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. But I've got a full house hanging with me today. Let's get to some guests, some pseudo guests, and then full-on family. Now, you've seen this young lady. She's a great author. She's back with us. We didn't run her away last time, so that means she likes us and likes us a whole lot. Coming to us from the Squared Circle podcast, it is Marie. Marie, how are you?
I am great, Gerard. Awesome. Thanks for having me again. And it's been great. Hi, chat.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. And then, of course, we've got someone brand new to welcome, and I'm pretty excited that he's hanging out with us. He's a former reporter over at Yahoo Finance who spent his time talking about WWE in those spaces. So you've probably read some of his reports. And currently, he is working with The Daily Show. Make some noise for our good friend, Reggie. Reggie, welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Pumped.
Absolutely. It's good to have you. Of course, you're representing the LWO. That's always
You know it, Latino, Boricua.
We love to see it. And that's a perfect segue for one of our favorites here at WWT Live. She has been doing the thing and representing very, very well. Give it up for Wrestling with Honey. Honey, how are you?
How we doing? What's up, guys? Full house indeed. What's happening?
Absolutely. Call us an 80s sitcom. We're a full house here. I love to see it. You doing good, honey?
I'm fantastic.
Excellent. Well, we have plenty to get into today. And strangely enough, we'll kind of start off today in the same way that we started off Monday, but with a bit more confirmed news. We started the day on Monday talking about Mommy. The question was she really injured? Was she not? It was being rumored that she could even relinquish the world championship at Raw. And we started off on Monday Night Raw with all of our questions answered. Indeed, Rhea Ripley is injured, and this is not good, as she's injured long enough to be not just off of WWE TV, but out for, we don't know, a couple of months perhaps. We weren't given the full extent of her injury, but it is enough for her to end her 380-day reign as Women's World Champion. Reggie, let's start with you, man. What were your thoughts on the injury to Rhea Ripley? And what do you think this means for her, for the women's title, and for Judgment Day?
You know, it was heartbreaking, and I got shades of her Judgment Day stablemate, Finn Balor. Remember Finn Balor winning the Universal Championship and then having to relinquish the next night. So it's just heartbreaking. She's like at the top of her game. She is super over. I was at WrestleMania, and her entrance, I mean, The Rock's entrance was great, but for my money, she had the best entrance of the weekend, coming out to her favorite band, dancing, singing with the lyrics. So I think this is a big blow, not only to WWE as a whole, but to the Judgment Day, because Mommy's the real star of that stable. And I love my man Damian Priest, Boricua, but you know, they're all going to have to step it up, because those are huge boots to fill.
They definitely are. Marie, your thoughts on Mommy's exit, at least for the time being?
It is definitely unfortunate circumstances. I still think that the way that Liv threw her into the wall, like really hurt her shoulder. And judging on the fact of like how tight her sling is, like this is a legit injury. Like I don't believe anything that people are saying out there, those weird conspiracy theories, because it makes no sense. But I do think that like when she comes back, not only will she get a pop, she'll probably be like a baby face, but that's a title that she never lost. It had to take an injury to take her out. Like everyone else had tried. And then all of a sudden an injury takes her out. I do wish her the best in recovery, and I can't wait to see her back.
Absolutely. Well, whenever you mention Liv Morgan, that's almost kind of like the bat sign. And that means, you know, it's time to take a pseudo trip to Vice City. Of course, that means the mayor of all things Vice City is here. That is in the building. How are you, sir?
What?
It was
I could not
perfect.
introduce you without your title. Come
With
on.
the Liv Morgan transition?
Well, you know, I mean, I didn't say you had anything against Liv. I mean, certainly you are willing to fight the good fight for Liv. But it's a good thing to bring you on, because one of the things that we found out, of course, the mention of Liv Morgan, and there is some connection. Well, it's a direct connection between her throwing Rhea against the wall and this injury that happened. One of the things that kind of was shocking was already there was the announcement that we're going to crown a new women's world champion this coming Monday. I thought it might have taken a bit longer. I thought maybe we would have had a tournament. Maybe we do this at Backlash or King and Queen of the Ring. But it's going to be handled this Monday. Said, who do you think ends up in this title picture come Monday night?
I think it's natural to put Liv in the title picture off top just because she's the one that took out Mommy. But I'll just give you a winner. I think it should be nobody other than Nia Jax. She's arguably been the strongest character since returning, and has only took, I'll say she only took a real loss to Rhea and Australia. I'm not going to count the gimmick match against Becky Lynch as a win because it wasn't a pinfall. So I would say Nia Jax makes the most sense. And in regards to Rhea being out, yes, it sucks. And I do want to kind of subscribe to the fan theories of it being maybe storyline injury. I know it's probably not, but I think Judgment Day will be fine. But I'm wondering like how Dom is going to keep his self up without Rhea being there. I think that's the one that's going to miss her the most. Dom's character arc. Does Judgment Day disband? I don't think so, because they were about to cook with 2 world champions in their stable for the first time. But I think if you're going to disband them now, I think Rhea was the glue that kind of kept everything together. Because now you can have Finn kind of bring back his jealousy of Damian Priest, and where does JD fit along? He kind of is going to go where Finn goes. But if it wasn't storyline, I have to believe it's because Rhea was so dominant, and I feel like they would have had plans to take it off her till like Mania when they finally do her and Bianca, if they ever get to that point. But since we're crowning a new champion off top, if it's not going to be a Damage Control member to kind of get that faction back relevance, it has to be Nia Jax.
Honey, who do you think ends up in this picture, and how do you think WWE goes about crowning this women's world champion?
Well, I'm really sad anyway to begin with, because it's Mommy and it's Rhea Ripley, and she's beloved by all, whether you love her or hate her. You hate to see it, but if I had to choose some members, I would want to say possibly I would definitely say Liv Morgan in there. I'm not sure why it wasn't even like a tournament thing, which kind of like had me a little baffled, because I was just like, we're used to having gauntlets and tournaments for these things. But I would have to say names like Liv Morgan stand out. Names like I don't know, Shayna Baszler for some reason stand out. Names like Nia Jax obviously should stand out. And then possibly if I had to pick, going off of what said with the Damage Control member, I would maybe choose Io Sky.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how they would go about this going forward. I guess it depends on who they put for this match. But the obvious choices look like Nia Jax and Liv Morgan for sure.
Very interesting. Let's hop over into the chat, which of course is jumping as it has been from the start. So shout out to everybody hanging in the chat. Let's see. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Jeffrey, good to see you. Welcome aboard. Dylan, good to see you as well. MDB is here, of course. Boza is here as well. Boza says there have been some discussion on Facebook groups, and the theory could be that this could be a good thing. I guess this happened because where would she go as champion? Let's see. All I can think of is the pop that mommy's going to get when she returns. It will be pretty crazy. Boza says, outside of Liv, who beat her 2 years ago, who could creative make as strong a threat to end mommy's reign? Maybe Charlotte, maybe Bianca. Charlotte is hurt. Bianca's in the big three. Let's see. Jeffrey says it's heartbreaking that Rhea got hurt. I think Judgment Day breaks up soon. Interesting. It could work one way or another. Dylan says that transition was one of the best. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Sounds like this administration wants a message that their champions will be active. Okay. I guess the hard part in this one, Boza, is we don't know how long she's going to be out. So it's hard to say, if this is something that could have, she could have worked through. Again, we don't have to go far back in terms of a precedence. Look at the top of the year with what happened with Seth Rollins, and he couldn't defend for 2 to 3 months, but he managed, to hold on to the title. So it's interesting. I don't know that I want to go the route yet of, do we have a double standard between men and women? Because I don't know how long this is for Rhea. So I don't necessarily want to call that card out quite yet. Let's see. Dylan.
They were saying it's an AC joint, right?
I have not seen exactly what it is, so I need to look just to double check that. Dylan says, I know I'm Australian, all hell mommy. However, I don't see how Liv gets hate in this situation, an eye for an eye. Interesting perspective there. Interesting. I mean, of course, we remember Liv was the one that was injured by mommy last year, strangely enough. So that would be interesting. Let's see. There's so many comments here. Cousin Ron, they need to save that for Mania. That being, of course, Bianca versus Mommy, which I don't know when we get to Bianca versus Mommy since Jade Cargill has entered the group chat. So, yeah, very interesting. Boza says, would Bianca have been a credible threat to take the title off of Mommy? I think Bianca is always a credible threat. Yeah. So I think that's
only threat.
Yep. I would say so.
Yeah. So now we're getting to some of these picks. Who do people think could end up in here? MDB is not happy about Liv Morgan, but Dylan thinks Liv would be a great choice. Dylan picks Dakota Kai. That would be interesting. Nice. Boza says, do they invite NXT talent for this? It's odd that they aren't telling us how they will crown a new champion. Well, maybe it's odd, or maybe they're still figuring it out. Part of me thinks that, with the draft literally starting 3 days after this happens, this is a great opportunity to open season. Like, I think you could literally have anybody from SmackDown or even NXT taking part in however they choose to do this. I don't know if they're going to go the route of, 2 triple threat matches in the beginning of the night and the 2 winners battle each other at the end of the night. I don't know if they go a gauntlet match. I don't know if they go a 6-pack challenge. I'm not sure. But I think it'll be interesting to watch how they come up with all of this. Let's see. Speaking of NXT, Cousin Ron says Roxanne should be in whatever tournament if there was one. And I think that would be interesting. Even more interesting is, of course, the next night, and we'll get into that. She'll be defending that women's title at Spring Break-In. And every time I saw Spring Break-In last night, I thought of you, honey. So there it is. I'm getting it right today.
Yes.
Yeah. So MDB says that Nia Jax is the obvious choice. Perhaps. And, I don't know what's obvious anymore, because some could argue that Liv is the obvious choice. Jeffrey says it's her AC joint. The chair shot during the brawl had no bearing on the injury and was not the cause, simply a freak injury, which, of course, was connected to her being thrown against the wall. So we'll see how all of this comes together. Lots to look into in terms of this women's championship being decided in a mysterious way next week. Now, that wasn't the only news coming out of Monday Night Raw. We also found out that the tag team championships were rebranded. Gone are the Raw tag team championships. Enter the newly minted World Tag Team Championships. Marie, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on these? What's your thought on this title design? And did you feel good about the rebranding of this?
I love it. Like point blank, like I love it. The original tag team championship titles, the one that looked like pennies. I had to get used to it because they were being used, but thankfully we don't have them anymore. Even when they first debuted the penny titles, I was just like, no, we're not. No, 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 no. There's a lot more creative creators in the WWE 2K24 community that creates wonderful belts. Like they should just hire them just to create belts. But these two tag team belts, I really love them. They're really great. I would be proud to wear one.
Very good. Reggie, what are your thoughts on the unveiling of these new tag team championships?
I love them. I'm with Marie. The penny titles had to go. I hated those bright blue and red straps. They look like toys, like something you would get at Hot Topic. So I'm glad that they changed it up. I love this design. It actually gave me a little WrestleMania 36 vibe because remember they had like the Pirates red banner on it. So when I saw those, I was like, "Oh, these like pirate titles?" But I like it. I'm digging them.
Very cool. That's the first time I've heard them referenced as the penny titles. I will never forget that. That is hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's fun. That one's gonna stick. That one's gonna
It certainly is. So, honey, let me ask you this. On top of the unveiling of these titles was the segment that actually happened. Of course, Triple H comes out. You got Adam Pearce there. You got the new Raw Tag Team Champions there. And what many seem to have thought was a funny segment involving R-Truth and The Miz. But Uncle Dave Meltzer, didn't think that. Dave Meltzer thought that this segment died a slow death on live TV. So, honey, where do you fall in this? Are you siding with Uncle Dave? Do you think this segment went too long and just wasn't funny? Or did Uncle Dave miss the boat and was this exactly what it was intended to be?
Uncle Dave definitely missed the boat on this. I don't always trust Uncle Dave sometimes. So I'm just going to go off of my opinion. And based on my opinion, I thought the segment was hilarious. And it's probably going to be like one of the top R-Truth segments we've ever gotten in his career. He brought back Little Jimmy, the mention of Little Jimmy, which I pretty much lost it from there. When he started calling Triple H Tommaso Ciampa, he actually broke him for like a moment. I laughed out loud. I hadn't laughed out loud in an episode in a while. And it's always because of R-Truth. It's either Santino Marella or R-Truth. And R-Truth has been nothing but comedy gold from even before he got injured. And you know, just to see him back and he still has not missed a beat when it comes to that. Kudos to Uncle R-Truth. And now I think it's even funnier because as soon as we found out who the tag team the contenders were when they had the match later on and DIY came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be good, especially if they win, because now R-Truth is going to think that he's going in the ring against the actual DX instead of DIY. So it doesn't get any better than that. So Uncle Dave, I'm sorry, but you don't know what you're talking about. You're just that old uncle that's just not funny, that, you know, that has to explain his jokes because they're not funny enough for people to get it off the rip. But meanwhile, R-Truth is funnier than you. So yeah, pure comedy gold. Thank you very much.
I love it. I love this. I love this. Sed, let me pose this question to you. Now that we know that DIY are the next contenders for the tag team titles, how long of a reign do you think we have with Awesome Truth?
That's tough because that's been thrown around a lot in the timeline lately, is that some people feel like the reign should already end for Awesome Truth. But you gotta remember, this is decades in the making. Like tag team was when I was still in college. They were last together. And it's tough because nobody's more deserving than Ciampa and Johnny, since they're basically have to do this tag team angle for as long as we're going to see them. But no, I think you should at least give it to Cleveland. That sounds tough. That sounds tough to do, but I feel like you have enough like wacky things you can do with R-Truth and the comedic relief, and it would probably mean a lot more to those two guys if you did it in Cleveland. If they won the gold in Cleveland. So I'd say if they can hold out to SummerSlam, then that would be best.
Okay. Reggie, what do you think in terms of the length of the title reign for R-Truth and The Miz? Do you see something going as long as Sed suggested, perhaps even longer or something shorter?
You know what? SummerSlam seems just about right. It said in Cleveland. I mean, The Miz is from the Ohio area, so it'd be good for Ohio to get that shine at SummerSlam. So I think this could actually go a couple of months. R-Truth is comedy gold. I have to agree with Uncle Dave, though. I think the segment did go too long.
Okay.
And at parts I was cringing a little bit. I think R-Truth is at his best when he's short and sweet. So I think they just need to shorten those up a little bit. But I think this could be a lengthy run because right now they're getting their flowers. And that was one of the bright spots at Mania, to see R-Truth hold a title above his head at the biggest event.
Honey, long reign, short reign for Awesome Truth.
I personally think that it might be a little bit shorter, just a little shorter. Only because I feel like it was more about just giving them that WrestleMania moment and for Truth to have that WrestleMania moment. There's plenty of other dominant tag teams and even upcoming tag teams we haven't even seen reached into their prime in this main roster that could continue. So, I mean, maybe they can go on a lengthy reign and hold out to SummerSlam, but I have a feeling it might be a little bit shorter than that. Though I will enjoy Awesome Truth and how well they try to escape and get out of every tag team title match or find their way winning by accident. So it'll be pretty funny to see. I'm sure they could come up with some good stuff.
I just have to check this out. MDB seems to be throwing tomatoes. That's what that is. Okay.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, I mean,
this is great.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah, he threw tomatoes at you, Reggie, and he's throwing tomatoes at the idea of
it's
Cleveland.
Okay, he throws tomatoes at all of us.
I feel like part of the group now.
Well,
you're baptized by tomatoes, dare I say. Marie, what are your thoughts? Lengthy reign, short reign? What should we see for Awesome Truth?
I'm actually going to be in agreement that, like, I think SummerSlam is pretty good. However, SummerSlam plus a Monday Night Raw, just because The Miz like shouldn't be losing it in his hometown, because SummerSlam is like a big pay-per-view anyway. So like SummerSlam plus a Monday Night Raw. And then let's not forget that in June we have Money in the Bank. So somebody could cash in on those tag team titles that Monday after SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that whole Money in the Bank loophole thing that they did for Theory, a year or so ago, I hope that was like one and done, and that we can return to the Money in the Bank exclusively being for a world title as opposed to ancillary titles. But with that, I'm probably going to be the one who somebody might throw a tomato at. I don't know. I feel like relative to R-Truth, The Miz, Awesome Truth, the WrestleMania moment was far more significant than this potential title reign. I think they lose these titles to DIY quick, fast, and in a hurry. R-Truth doesn't need to be a champion to be funny. He was the 24/7 champion forever and a day. And I think he's funny. He's cool. I don't think that he or Miz gain anything by being the tag team champions right now. Miz's legacy is already cemented. I think R-Truth's is as well. We're just giving him his flowers, telling him we appreciate him. But I don't think anyone can really be convinced that of all of the tag teams right now on the Raw roster, that Awesome Truth would go through those. Like, they're not going through DIY. They're not going through the Creed brothers. They're not going through Judgment Day.
Why not? Why not?
It's gonna be great.
I mean,
why not?
They don't make it through the New Day, quite frankly. And the New Day,
we always talking about, we always trying to build new stars. Why not?
They're not new stars.
They don't need to be
not new stars.
There's a completely different audience that exists today that didn't know the Awesome Truth stuff from back in the day. So why not?
All of the groups that Professor.
You gotta remember the original Awesome Truth was a heel tag team.
I remember them. Yeah, who got trounced by The Rock and John Cena. I remember that.
And they got blamed for poor pay-per-view ratings, which was that was terrible.
It was
Awesome Truth is great.
Golly, they're not going through Gallus. They're not going through AOP. They're not going through
AOP's on NXT now.
That's my point.
So
They're
if we
not
can
going through
advocate
all
for
that
Waller
theory.
and Theory to be champions, we got to give Awesome Truth that same credibility. We have to.
Wait. Awesome Truth. They had their look. They won a 6-pack ladder match. That's a big deal. They
That
beat
is.
5 other great teams.
Yes.
That
is a
doesn't mean we
big
should
deal.
Zack Ryder the team. That doesn't mean we should do that.
Oh, we should
They
totally
didn't.
Zack
They
Ryder the
didn't.
team.
They didn't.
Absolutely,
They
we
didn't.
should Zack Ryder the team.
They didn't technically Zack Ryder them. Zack Ryder lost it the next night. They didn't lose it the next night. They
Strangely
got
enough-
crowned new belts.
And he lost to The Miz. So you're right. He didn't exactly get Awesome Truth, but or he didn't get he didn't get that treatment. But I just think Awesome Truth, their strength is in the comedy of R-Truth, not in their
Yeah.
ability to defend championships. Like
Yeah.
and now you've just given us we've gone from the penny titles that you get at Toys R Us to these valuable
Time
world
out.
titles.
Come on.
You gotta
We're
have
talking about
real
a
team.
2-time Grand Slam winner. He can't defend the tag team
Right.
titles?
Wait a minute. Wait. The same Miz whose last world title reign lasted 8 days? That Miz? Come on.
2-time
He's still
Money
a
in the
champion,
Bank,
though.
2-time Grand Slam winner, but he can't
Miz
defend
don't
the
got
tag
nothing
team
to
titles
prove,
more than
he
one
said.
time?
Miz don't
And
got
that
nothing to
Miz
prove.
See,
he said.
that's why he's
title
got to
in
make it
3
to
minutes.
Cleveland. Get them flowers in his hometown.
No,
And can I
no.
bring something up about Cleveland? You
By
know,
all
I'm a
means.
big geography nut, and I love
Yes.
Cleveland. But Cleveland, you don't exactly think of summer when you think of Cleveland. I used to
That's
love
what
when
everybody
WWE used to do theme like
dangerous.
SummerSlam was always in Florida, California, someplace hot. Survivor Series was in New York, Toronto, someplace cold. I want to go back to the settings matching the themes of the show. That's
I'm
just
not
me.
mad at that. I'm
TK
not
did
mad
this
at
with
that at
Detroit
all.
last year. It's dangerous.
Well,
Exactly.
and shout out to Dylan who thought it not robbery to drop some coins here. We appreciate that. And if you feel like doing that, by all means, you always can. But back to what you were saying, Reggie.
Yeah, so I think we just need to go back. Like SummerSlam needs to be in a hot place, a place associated with summer. Maybe Puerto Rico, maybe like come on, Cleveland.
Oof.
No one thinks of
Oof.
summer when you think Cleveland. Come on.
But see,
SummerSlam
so
in Puerto Rico would
a
slap.
summer it
Oh,
would.
it
It'd be
would.
really hot though. It'd be really,
Ooh.
really hot. It'd be hot.
Great.
Marie, were you saying something?
I'm always saying something.
Oh, well, go ahead. I thought you were saying something. I didn't want to overtalk you. I'm sorry.
No, it's good, man. I'm just having fun in the chat while we're all talking about this at the same time. But I think you got to give the Miz and R-Truth a lot more credit, even though like they're gonna come off as like a comedy act, and I know not a lot of fans might like a comedy act, but they could still get the job done. This is why we're all saying that like after Cleveland, they could drop the titles because it's not that far from now until August. So at least they'll put over some teams. They'll give spotlight to other teams by being funny with them. They get more TV time with other people. Like, don't just count it out, Professor. Like, I love your takes and everything, but don't count it out just yet.
I have one more very important reason why I'm counting this out. Do you remember the last time R-Truth attempted to travel internationally? He went to the wrong country. All of the paper, all the PLEs between now and Cleveland are international. There's no way he's making it there. No way.
This is how we extend the title reign. That's exactly how you extend the title reign.
So you make that the excuse for every time.
The titles get lost in custom.
That's exactly how.
Man, no way. No way. Anyway, this is all kinds of fun. I didn't know this would be the point that we would land on, but yeah, so very interesting. Now, from this to probably something a bit more serious that came as a shocker. So we all knew that Sheamus was returning to Monday Night Raw, and he was the first match back on Monday Night Raw. But what most people weren't prepared for, many did not exactly find his in-ring shape to be impressive, to the point where there's been body shaming actually happening on Sheamus over the last couple of days. And he actually took to Twitter in his very unique way to acknowledge that. And he just said, quote, "I'm big boned," which I thought is hilarious. But what are your thoughts, guys, on the in-ring return of Sheamus and the irony of body shaming for Sheamus? Maria, we'll start with you.
So I like the fact that Sheamus came back. We finally get to see him in action. Him doing what is it, white noise from like the second row on Ivar.
Yes.
Like guys, if like, well, not us. I mean, like guys for the fans and everything. He still got his strength, man. Just because he's a little chubby doesn't mean like he's out of shape. Like nobody can like really pick up Ivar like that if they were like out of shape or anything like that. But I do think that like for those that don't work out, like this is what happens when you get like a shoulder injury, because that's what put them on the shelf for like 7 to 8 months. So you can't train the same way that you can train if you didn't have the injury. So for people that are just like, oh my God, he's fat. He's not fat. He's chubby. People like chubbiness around here. It's totally fine, guys. Like, relax. It's not the end of the world. But welcome back, Sheamus.
Indeed. Pause. Wait a minute. Honey, today's your birthday?
Yeah.
It's
It
your
is
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. How did you know that?
Thank you,
In
Matt.
chat.
Matt.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Matt.
Now, can I
Matt.
ask? Oh, Matt. Okay. Oh, I feel like we just scanned the QR code. This is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Very, very good. Well, happy birthday,
guys.
honey. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you. That's why I'm doing so fantastic today.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank
And thank
you.
you, Matt, for that reminder. Because I was like, wait a minute. How did I miss that? Awesome. Okay, so back to Sheamus. Reggie, your thoughts on Sheamus, his return, and how people have been responding.
You know, I'm a big boy. Big boys need love too. So Sheamus, I feel you, man. I am not in that gym. So hey, you know, Sheamus is in legacy mode. He came back to the old lobster head theme song that everyone loved. And it was just nice to see Sheamus. I was a Sheamus fan from the start. I remember people got hate on Sheamus. They were like, "Oh, he's one of Triple H's boys. He just beat Cena for the title. Look, he's got that he's got that helping hand." But I mean, Sheamus put in his work over the years, and he's done so many different gimmick changes. You had him with Cesaro for the longest. He's done the comedy thing. He can do the power thing, and you can put the world title on him, and it can be credible. So Sheamus is like the Swiss Army knife, I think, of WWE, and you can't have enough of those guys around. So nothing but love for Sheamus. And I thought coming off injury, he was pretty impressive in his debut.
Quite impressive indeed. Said, you know, it's interesting. Sheamus earlier today posted something that I thought added a lot of color to all of this. He posted about his road back to the ring. And he said that 2 months ago, he thought he was hanging up the boots. He thought he was done, but a lot of doctors, trainers, and physicians really helped him so that he could be cleared. So what we're seeing now is 2 months following, you know, him getting the green light to be able to come back to the ring. I guess my question to you is, are people so stuck in what they believe an image of a wrestler is that they don't see the forest for the trees? Like, why aren't people more grateful that he's back versus the physical shape he appears to be in?
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of irony in calling somebody out of shape and overweight for somebody who's still in probably better shape than like 95% of the IWC. There's
Absolutely.
a lot of irony there. And if you want to look at it like you look at any other sport, he just got back and hasn't wrestled in 8 months. You have to work yourself into game shape. And that's going to happen in real time. It's going to be hitting the ropes, doing the same routine. You have to imagine he wasn't in that routine the entire time because you're trying to just heal that one part of the body. So over time, I think it's natural he'll get back into the same physique, but the body shaming thing just sucks because you don't know what he went through. And he's still probably a lot stronger, faster, better at a lot of the things you're shaming him for. So it's just great to see Sheamus back. And I think once he gets back into his routine, you'll see those Celtic Warrior workouts start going with each superstars again, and he'll get back to his normal body size. But him being able to just do this, it struck me as somebody that just was just happy to be back and loved doing this again. So he didn't care what he looked like. But as long as he was able to do what he loved, that's all that matters.
I would just like to add on to that to answer the question a little bit more. People are bored And people want something to complain about, and they can easily do it behind their phone rather than being like going up to the person and being like, hey, you're fat, even though they should know that he's been out of wrestling for like 8 months to nurse an injury. But it's kind of weird that like, since everybody is watching YouTube all the time, you don't think like they'll be watching the Sheamus videos of him working out with people and complaining in the videos of like, I don't know how you do this workout. This workout is killing me, because he's done that a couple of times with other people he's worked out with. But yep, it's people being lazy and bored and they want to say something online.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Any thoughts on Sheamus and his return, honey?
Absolutely. I'm just happy to see him back. And I think that's the part that everybody should really be focused on. I mean, we know that the guy is healing from a long-term injury, something that could have completely ended his career, and we could have not gotten Sheamus at all. So I think a lot of people should be a little bit more grateful for these superstars, because they are athletes and they do put their bodies to the test every single day with this job. And it's, you know, and everybody is like shaming Sheamus like he's some kind of a scrub. Like he hasn't been a world heavyweight champion before. Like he hasn't won a Money in the Bank. Like he hasn't done things or been king of the ring or, you know, held accolades in this industry already, and ECW, everything like that. Like this is that Sheamus, the bar with Cesaro Sheamus, you know, and that team was made out of nothing into something, and they ended up being a dominant tag team. And you know, so for Sheamus being back, and also what was really cool is that his original theme was playing. There was an older theme song that he had from early in the 2000s, like later 2000s. And I was just like, oh, okay. So we're taking it back a little bit. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. I'm here for the nostalgia. I'm here for him being back. And you know, he's feeling his way back in, because it's not something that you can automatically go into, especially after healing and going through physical therapy and being able to be medically cleared. So Triple H believed in him enough, saying, "Dude, you're Sheamus. They're gonna love you. They're gonna love your return. You're the Irish lad, and you're just gonna go ahead and scream feller and kick some ass and call it a day."
Yeah,
and that's what he did. And with Ivar, nonetheless, because I don't know what it is with Ivar lately. Ivar's been involved with some bangers. He's another unsung hero in the ring. I would say in the last year.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Absolutely. So great stuff. Jeffrey had a great comment, and he said, one bro kick from Sheamus will shut those haters up. And I mean, absolutely. Totally.
Abs are overrated.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. So much still to get to. Yeah, right. There's still so much to get to. So we're going to, well, I was going to say we're going to kind of zoom through, but we'll see. We just, you know, we'll land where we land, because Raw was so good. We got QR codes. The QR codes are back. And I have to tell you, when I saw this in the middle of that entrance for the New Day, I literally sat up and got chills. I was just like, oh my God, we are here. Now, here's the quick question that I want to pose. Well, the first question I'll put to Reggie, and that is this. What do you think these codes actually mean?
I'm not sure, and some people thinking it's Uncle Howdy. Maybe they're going to go that way. You know, the late, great Bray was honored all throughout WrestleMania weekend. Maybe keep that storyline alive. But I remember when Chris Jericho came back a second time, the cryptic messages. Now this is like the new generation of that, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Marie, what do you think this means?
It's probably gonna end up being with like Uncle Howdy and like, you know, the awesome stuff that they were doing before. Unfortunately, Bray Wyatt passed and stuff with the bunny and everything. I'm gonna let it play out and see what this is, because I'm not really gonna go do the research. But I do end up getting a smile when I see everybody else on Twitter trying to figure it out, and I'm just like, this is so cool. So I'll take a back seat for this one in a way.
Okay. Honey, I want to pose this question to you, because this was very interesting. While people on the Twitter machine were trying to figure out what this was, we all were intrigued when a certain Matt Hardy retweeted several of these moments. Does this mean anything? Or is Matt Hardy just paying homage to Bray Wyatt as they at one time were tag team champions? What do you think?
I honestly, it could be anything. Anybody who is involved with Bray, I think it could have a tie to everyone. This could be something that, I mean, I think Matt Hardy just did it in like really, I think it was just really weird timing and really fun timing because we're all already in the midst of figuring it out, and then the next thing you know, he's retweeted it, and we're like side eye. Big major side eye, because we all know the history that Matt Hardy has had with Bray Wyatt and being former tag team champions. An unexpected great tag team that ended up happening for as long as it did. But I'm not sure if that means something definitive for Matt Hardy. I definitely know this is something definitive for Howdy. I would also like to remind people that Bray Wyatt started the Funhouse on April 22nd years back. And this Monday will be April 22nd. Just saying, those are things that we should actually be paying attention to, because I love a good rabbit hole. I love to follow down, and because I was instant on the scan code. I saw that appear. I was like, pause,
Yes.
hold
Yes.
up, get it at the right moment, pause,
Yes.
and then forward so it goes slower, you know. But I think it was Matt Hardy stirring the honey pot, as I like to say on Mondays and Fridays. But I think Matt Hardy was doing his own stirring, and I think it's more affection for Howdy and for anyone who was involved with Bray. And it just so happens that we find out that Eric Rowan isn't doing anything because of contractual obligations. Need I say more?
And
it's getting interesting.
If we follow the B613 trail and decide to become gladiators in all of this, we also note that on April the 22nd, 2024, Monday Night Raw will be in a place called Columbus, Ohio, which has a certain connection to another connected member of all things Wyatt. Said, do we see our first presentation from this potential Wyatt situation this Monday in the return of a certain Little Miss Bliss?
That would be nice. I think that would be nice if they did it. That was probably my second favorite rendition of her character is the Wyatt stuff. I know a lot of people weren't here for it, but I mean, she shot Randy Orton with a fireball, and it was great.
And beat him.
And she had a playground. It was awesome.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't know, whatever you want to do with the women's championship, that comes up. But also, I think it's just a nice homage to Bray. There's a lot of things you can pull from it, with not just the stuff going on with Rowan, but Strowman's been gone for a while.
True.
And it would be really nice to just put something together. I hope they don't give it to us all at once. I hope we get these tea leaves for a while. And I think if you do it, honestly, I'm a big proponent of these international shows. If you do it at an international show, the optics are just going to be so much better in that arena. So I hope we get the big reveal maybe at least 2 months down the road, but keep giving us the tea leaves every single week.
And apparently with the scan code, what the first thing that we saw was like trust me or take my hand or it'll be over soon or something like that. Apparently this was saying the words "you forgot about us." There's only one other group of us that I could really think of, and those would be the Funhouse friends. Or oh my god, you know what? How could we forget?
Oh boy!
Awesome. Unless maybe this is a rabbit hole from Little Jimmy. Who knows?
Now listen. That would be wild.
But at the end of the day, I would love it for them to be affiliated with All Things Wyatt. I think it would be a massive faction with Braun, Eric. Yeah. We have Bo as Howdy, as we can now say and fully confirm that we know it's Bo Dallas and Alexa Bliss, you know, all together in one faction. I think that would be absolutely insane, but it's got to be done right. And so far with what they were going to do with Bray, with what we saw they were going to do and how he came back at Extreme Rules and how they revealed it, as long as they keep that mystique up and keep it attributed to the man and the mind behind it, they're going to go far with it. And anything, you know, it's nice to see, especially as soon as anything was mentioned of Bray at Mania, all the fireflies were up. Everybody had their cell phones up, and it's just such a nice thing to see. So like that, like we already know that we are going to accept and we're going to love anything that comes out of this.
Yeah, I love it. So MDB has the idea if Alexa Bliss comes back and wins the world title next week, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean,
No, it isn't.
I honestly think it's going to be somebody that none of us are anticipating. So I don't think it's going to be, the obvious, which, no telling what they could be doing here. Let's see. Dylan says, didn't Rambling Rabbit tell us to trust him? Yeah, he did.
Yes,
And
he
for
did.
the love of God, don't tease us too long. I'm interested to see how this will work, because obviously what's different this time is, last time we were trying to figure out who are the QR codes. Is it Karrion Kross? Is it, Bray? Who is it? Now that we associate it with Bray, the question will be, how long should it go? And what will they do differently with this than they did with Bray, which I think will be very interesting. One last thing from Monday Night Raw. This is how good Raw was. We have spent the bulk of this show talking about Raw, which is
It
crazy.
was pretty damn good.
Very quickly.
Sammy.
Did
Cinema.
we see the greatest entrance of all time?
Oh.
Marie.
Pretty much, especially the whole transition with like Jay going out there and pushing that one fan, which was hilarious, to standing right next to Sammy looking up at like the stars, which by the way, when I was watching it at home, I was like, they will just be perfect in New York City, because that's what tourists do. They just stand there and look, and you're like, what are you looking at? Yeah. I felt that when I saw it. And then for Sammy to come out and then be adorned by everyone in Chicago, the match was fantastic with Chad Gable. And then, of course, jumping a little bit ahead of like the Chad Gable heel turn, which was done perfectly, and like all the angles and everything. Like, it feels like we're watching a movie more than like, a regular wrestling show that you go to, at your local promotion and stuff like that. Like it was great, man. I love it.
Fantastic. Reggie, greatest entrance ever?
I think the greatest Raw entrance ever. We've had some great WrestleMania entrances. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura, not only in WWE, but in Japan, has had some of the best entrances I've ever seen. But on Raw, this was definitely the best. And then the camera shots, like the angle from above, it was like Marie said, it was like cinematic. And it was great. I love seeing the homeboys in their hometown making good. And this got me right in the field. So this was great. And just what the doctor ordered for Sammy off of WrestleMania.
Absolutely. So we're going to try to move a little quickly, because there's still a ton of things to talk about, including some late breaking news connected to WrestleMania. So on one hand, this is very interesting. Philadelphia, who of course played home to WrestleMania this year, is already putting a bid in to bring WrestleMania back, which I think would be interesting. It would be much like New Orleans, who hosted WrestleMania 30 and 34, kind of the quickest turnaround that we've seen for a particular city. Now, several of us were actually in Philly for WrestleMania. Would you want to see WrestleMania return to Philly, honey?
I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it. The only thing I would be upset at, and I know a lot of people who I met over there are going to be upset with me for saying this, but I was surrounded by a lot of Eagles. It's quite scary for a Steelers fan, I probably saw like maybe one or two terrible towels, and I was just like, good, one of us, like keep it on the low, But no, but Philly is actually a great town to have wrestling shows, because I know I had a blast, and if I could go through all of that again next year, if they bring it back, or the year after, or whenever they bring it back to Philly, I'd do it all over again. You best believe I'll be up in there.
Said, do you think Philly's a good spot to bring Mania back to?
Hopefully not soon. So I'm gonna be the contrarian here, because
Define soon.
Within the next 5 years. I hope not, because word on the streets, since I'm always there, but I wasn't there at Mania, that it was cold, and outdoor stadiums and cold are not good. Because I was in New York for Roxina too, and it was miserable the entire show. So if we got to do the stadium thing, I hope we move more to indoor stadiums. You know, they're speculating Vegas. It's been in Arizona before. Let's do more of those things where you at least have the dome that is retractable where you can close it if need be to prevent weather conditions. I think that'd be a better move if you're still trying to pack out or pack in 80,000 people.
Yeah, for sure. So that leads us to an interesting statement made just before we went on air from this guy, Nick Khan, the other Khan, or, well, never mind. I won't do that. Nick Khan today spoke to the SBJ World Congress of Sports, and he was asked about WrestleMania 41. Now, this is where things get interesting because he said that WrestleMania 41 will not go head-to-head with the NCAA Final Four. Now, that's a big deal because for the last 15 years, it's been WrestleMania versus the Final Four, same weekend every year for 15 years. So that leads us to the question, when will WrestleMania be? The other question is, where will WrestleMania be? And he told us that you can assume that WrestleMania 41, which is obviously next year, will not be in an outdoor East Coast stadium again, and it won't go head-to-head with the Final Four. And one of the cities under consideration, according to Nick Khan, is indeed Las Vegas.
Oh, boy.
So let's have a quick chat because the question now, obviously, well, I won't say obviously, but normally by now, the location for next year's WrestleMania would have been announced. It's been announced super early. Sometimes it's been announced during WrestleMania. It's not been announced at all this year, which is very, very rare. Now that we have an idea that it probably won't be the same date as normal, since it's not going to conflict with the Final Four, and it won't be in an East Coast outdoor stadium, which is what Nick Khan has said. Quick dibs on when and where we see WrestleMania 41. Marie, let's start with you.
Well, if we're going to be moving dates so that way we don't have to, go head to head with the Final Four, let's just put it back on March 28th, which is my birthday. Like, that'd be a great birthday present for me because originally that's when WrestleMania fell on. So I would love that. I don't want to travel to Las Vegas, so I don't want it in Las Vegas. I would like to keep it somewhere still on the West Coast because the West Coast crowd does get really nice and they pop for a lot of things. Midwest would be nice. How come we don't have it in Texas? Why can Texas not be an idea?
Well, Texas was the home for WrestleMania just 2 years ago. It was in Dallas.
Ah, damn, 2 years ago?
Yeah, just 2 years ago. And then
38 and
6 years, 32. So 32. So it's been twice in a decade. So Texas, yeah.
You know what? Just have it back here at Madison Square Garden, where it all started.
Here's the problem.
That's it.
Madison Square Garden's too small now. They have said that they're only doing this in stadiums, and you can't go from 80,000 to 20,000. And you mentioned Dallas. I think you should also know that Final Four 2025 is in Dallas.
Damn. See, this is why I'm not too good with geography. I'll just go where it's reasonable. So I'm naming states off the top of my head where it'll be good. I just don't want to travel to Las Vegas. I really don't. But anywhere else, I'll try to make it out there. But seriously, guys, WWE, put WrestleMania back on my birthday. It'll be easier. It'll be spring break. People could take time off. It doesn't have to be April. A win-win.
So let me throw something else out there before we make some more predictions. The Final Four next year is going to be the weekend of April 5th through the 7th, which again would be kind of in, normally where this year is in terms of time frame. One of the other things that they're having to be careful of and to steer clear of is, this little holiday called Easter, which also is a problem. Now, that happens to be April 20th this year. So if they go later, they have to, April 20th next year will be Easter. So again, April will kind of fill that. So
Okay.
we're looking potentially at March, or maybe somewhere, maybe after the Final Four, which could be the weekend after. I don't know. Reggie, what do you think? Location, date, opportunities for WrestleMania 41.
Location, I've been hearing a lot about Minnesota. They have a beautiful new stadium, US Bank Stadium, I believe it's called. So that would be pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have the cachet of Hollywood or Philadelphia or a place like New York, but it'd be nice to see a WrestleMania in the Midwest. And I'm going to have to agree with Marie. I'm old school. My first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 8 that I remember seeing. That was in
Midwest,
Minneapolis. And that was in
Indianapolis.
March. WrestleMania was always that last weekend of March, and I actually missed that. So I think it's perfect. It'll miss the Final Four, and like you said, Easter is on 420 next year, so you steer clear of that. So I think the
irony of
Midwest.
that.
Yep. So I think the Midwest, and I think the last weekend of March.
Gives a new meaning to "He is risen." Okay, said your
It does.
thoughts. said your thoughts, man. Where are we getting Mania 41?
So I think it should be in Vegas. I think you follow the money. And we saw what Super Bowl week did in Vegas this year. So you naturally are going to follow that and do WrestleMania there. The Allegiant Stadium is a gorgeous stadium. You have the Sphere, so many things going on in Vegas. They know they'll print money if they go there. That's why I think it hasn't been announced yet, because you want to make it perfect. And yes, they owe Minnesota a WrestleMania, but they just might have to wait, unfortunately. As far as date and time, I think naturally if you want to avoid the Final Four, it's going to be the weekend that you're on, then you just push it back to the following weekend. Only thing is that you'll avoid the national championship game because it's usually on Mondays, but you'll compete with the NCAA women's national championship game. I don't understand the reason why you wouldn't want to compete with it, because I think a lot of people tuned in to Mania over college basketball because the men's tournament wasn't that great this year. A lot more people tuned in to the women's NCAA tournaments and national championship, but I think naturally you just go a week later. But as far as location, I think we don't have a stamp yet. Is because they're trying to figure out how they'll do it in Vegas.
Honey, what do you think?
Vegas wouldn't be a bad spot, considering that they've already had their history this year with Vegas and how well they drew in people for the press conference and everything like that. I think also, I mean, if you're already talking about WrestleMania 41, just like Cody is, and talking about that, The Rock and his story isn't finished yet, or it's only just begun. Like, what better place to do it than in Vegas, where the slap heard around the world initially happened, where the first blood was drawn. I've personally never been to Vegas. I think that would be quite a trip. It's going to be a hefty trip, so we're going to start to have to save them coins like
now,
right now. But
yeah.
I also heard good things about the Superdome as well. I mean, I know they've done the Superdome before, and I believe that's New Orleans. And I know their stadium's pretty dope. A lot of people said SoFi Stadium was cool as well when they did Hollywood, but why not? Why not Vegas? I'm just why not? Just give me my Mania.
I also think what we also have to consider is everybody's talking about the new era. This new TKO era is very much glitz and glamour. And I say glitz and glamour because there's the connection to the UFC. And the UFC, you don't see the UFC, and no offense to Minnesota, you just don't see that there. And in my head, I'm thinking about, Philly was the kind of space where a thing like Wale Mania made sense. I legitimately don't see Wale Mania in Minneapolis. Like, unless you're doing that, somewhere around Paisley Park or something like that. It just doesn't seem to be the kind of hub. And I think as they're looking for cities now, they're obviously looking for great stadiums, state-of-the-art stadiums, and a place where people would love to travel to. And so I think that's what's going to make this super interesting for sure. We'll keep our eyes and ears peeled on this. We'll have to quickly, I can't believe our hour is up already. So if you guys don't mind going a few extra minutes, we haven't touched NXT yet. And I'm going to save this segment right now for the mayor of all things Vice City.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure felt really good last night when he got to see the the head of all things Vice, Lola Vice, get the big win yesterday over Sol Ruka, and has been challenged now to the first ever women's NXT Underground match against Natalya. What are your thoughts on this, Sed? I know you were cheesing, and in fact, I even saw a sign at NXT last night that said Vice City, and so I'm like, oh, you sent people from the district. I love it. So, what are
We
your
have
thoughts
great
right now
representation down there.
on the presence of Lola Vice on NXT?
See, I've been drinking today just for this segment right here. So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good one with this. You know, we talked about Rhea Ripley earlier today, and we talked about her return and like how magnificent it would be. And then after Lola Vice match, Natty pops on the screen. Of course, no pop. So the only thing to come out of this thing is that we're getting the first ever women's underground match. Underground's been a thing on Raw. It's been a thing in NXT, and this is the exact type of format that I want to see Natty get bodied in. And here's the beautiful thing about all of this. I'm sorry.
Hey, go ahead, man. I want to hear this.
Here's the beautiful thing about all of this. Natty's probably going to have Carmen Petrovic in her corner, and Lola had that segment with Petrovic last night. We're like, wait till you see who I bring, and I guarantee you it's going to be Shayna Baszler. Book it.
Yeah.
It's going to be Shayna Baszler, former MMA fighter herself, and you're going to see this. This might be Lola's thing. You know how certain superstars have their match where you have like a casket match, the fight pit, things like that. This might be Lola's thing where this is her staple. So you're seeing this character development happen right before our eyes, and this is all I have wanted this entire time. Hickenbottom, give yourself a gold star, because if Lola don't finish this match, be a sharpshooter, and Natty just pass out, then we're missing the boat here. That's exactly what has to happen. Natty's only in NXT to be a gatekeeper, to gatekeep for those who should be in the title picture or those who you know are going to be on Raw within the next 6 to 9 months. We're finally here now. And I can guarantee you after this, you'll be talking about Lola being in the main event picture again with Roxy or whomever the title champion is at that point. But sharpshooter, she passes out. And she goes and does whatever she does. She tries to cherry pick talent on Raw, SmackDown, whatever, to stay relevant, because it's been a long time. Lola gets her win next week.
And
We got a
Jeffrey,
Hickenbottom, no charm.
I'm with you because I was gonna hop in on that boat pun, but I just, I let him continue for sure. Okay, so I mean, Marie, you were waiting to hear Sed's take on this. I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say.
Well, the only thing that I will agree on is that if the finish is not like that, because that really does sound like a really nice finish to go out to, I'll give you that. But Natalya has been putting a lot behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. She's been there forever. But to want her to just get bodied, like, really, man? This is NXT Underground. This is where she feels the most comfortable, because every time that she posts a video on her IG about training the other ladies and men, like, she's a force to be reckoned with. So Lola might have her work cut out for her. And even if she does get Shayna Baszler on her side to, cheer her on, who's to say that Natalya may not end up getting, Masha, who Masha and Shayna had their match at Bloodsport, allowing, a WWE talent to go over to Josh's thing. But man, like, you got to give Natalya her flowers and her props, not just be like she's going to get bodied. She's not going to get bodied by Lola. She's not.
I've never seen a fan bring a Natalya sign to the stadium.
Good Lord, said good
Lord. Not never.
Well, that's because you had to pay people to bring that Vice sign with you, for them. So it's
part
okay.
Of the budget.
She gets her flowers anyway.
Wow.
It's spicy in here.
Wow. It is very, 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 very spicy around these parts. Jeez.
That's that Vice City heat. That's that Vice City heat.
Yikes. Wow.
Oh,
all right.
Wow.
All right.
But it's going to be a good match. I think it'll be a good match.
is.
It'll be a good showcase for both. And I think that's the beautiful thing about NXT is that you see these storylines in the women's division that have nothing to do with the title. This is perfect.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
perfect.
I totally agree. Now, something else that had nothing to do with the title, but has an awful lot to do with some news that's going on in the space of NXT is this confrontation that took place between the No Quarter Catch crew and, of course, the family.
What is this?
And
What is this?
Who did this?
somebody's missing.
Timeless Drew Gulak. It's the timeless.
Somebody's missing. Yeah, Drew Gulak obviously is missing, and it looked like last night they seemed to explain it away. And the explanation, of course, between the family and the No Quarter Catch crew is that the crew hired the family to do something that would be, in the words, strangely enough, of Charlie Dempsey, best for the wrestling business, which I thought that was a very interesting statement. So now that they've pretty much written him off of television without ever mentioning his name, what do you think happens to Drew Gulak? He's literally been taken off of the graphic for the video. There's no mention of him. Now he's literally swimming with the fishes. What do we say now about Drew Gulak? Reggie.
You know what, Drew? It is election season. Maybe he's running for office again. I remember Drew Gulak for a better 205 Live. So I've always liked Drew Gulak. They've had him do a bunch of things. So hopefully they're just giving him some time to repackage and he'll just come back and turn the tables on him. So that's my hope. But I love Drew.
So, honey, let me ask you this question. In light of these allegations that have been out there about Drew Gulak, do you believe that him being written off of television and kind of taking off of the internal roster, do you believe that this means there's some potential merit to all of this?
It could be. There definitely could be. As to say if it's definitive, not sure. Because again, we're not back there. We're not in those offices. We're not in those conversations. But I think it is a very bad look for Drew Gulak, unfortunately, only because you would hope that there would be no truth to these kinds of things. But if there is, then it is best. WWE has to do what they have to do for what's best for business, and the business does come first. They don't want to jeopardize anything of the sort, so especially with what they've had to deal with leading up into Mania during the press conference with the old man that used to be around and the big guy. But they're trying to stay far away from any kind of stains that could potentially bring down their business. So it's unfortunate though, because I liked this look of the No Quarter Catch crew, and when we were talking about them in their matches a couple of weeks ago, we were like, Drew Gulak actually looks like an absolute legend in that ring. Like, and he was responsible for training a lot of the superstars down there and everything like that. So he's played a big part, even on the main roster. So it's real. That's why it's really unfortunate, because he is actually a great talent, and he has a good eye for talent. But the show must go on, and I think not for nothing, William Regal Jr. can hold it down just fine.
And he did a great job talking last night. I was actually quite impressed. Quite impressed.
I was into it
with what we heard from Charlie Dempsey. Another surprise last night, where the NXT champion was told, "Hey, listen, it's not fair that your challenger is in a cage match tonight and you have nothing to do." So he issued an open challenge, and who would answer the challenge but Javon Evans? Reggie, what did you think of Javon Evans literally debuting last week on NXT TV and now stepping up to the plate against the NXT champion?
I love the brother had a great showing against himself. And I remember when NXT started, and those are the things that you love, seeing this new talent come in, being infused right off the bat. And it just had big fight feel, big fight energy. And that's hard for a guy that literally just stepped in last week. So I was all in for it. And I think he's going to be extremely successful in NXT.
Marie, your thoughts on the young OG against the Mad Dragon?
He has ruthless aggression to be standing up to Ilya Dragunov like that, to get, that spot. Like, that's something that, like, he, obviously he is going to absorb it and definitely have a grateful memory for like the rest of his life, because that's a pretty big deal. That means that the company is definitely invested in him, and they see him with a bright future. Even like Ilya is probably like, yeah, this kid is going to go places. Very proud of him to be in that spot.
Absolutely. And as soon as we mentioned Javon Evans, the place has gone nuts talking about the young OG. I love to see this. So let me ask you, Said, given the fact that his second match on NXT TV, he's fighting the champion, what do you see in the next 6 months for Javon Evans?
I definitely see at least the North American title picture, because that's the fast track thing that we're doing. I think the same thing happened with Mello when he took on Adam Cole fairly early. So it's good to see, and it's good to see that he put on a very stellar performance on live television, which will only add to his flowers backstage internally. So I think at least the North American title picture, after we get after the Obafemi stuff, I think that'll be very good for him as we build him to possibly being the face of the brand here this time next year.
I wouldn't doubt it, given all that is potentially happening with one Trick Williams, who last night had what seemed to be the final confrontation in NXT between he and Carmelo Hayes inside of this steel cage. These two really went at it. By the end of the night, Trick Williams stood tall, and on top of him standing tall, we then saw on Instagram and Twitter that Carmelo Hayes said, and that's all it's going to be, signifying that potentially he is done in NXT. Here's the question, honey. Where do you see Carmelo Hayes going in the draft?
Well, I mean, it's so strange because it's like they had called them up like months ago, and we were expecting them to be on the main roster by now, but they had to get through their storylines for Stand and Deliver before they even move up, and then before we know it, the draft is here. So, if I had to pick a place for Melo, I mean, especially if I would, what would have been even what would make more sense, especially if Seth was still around or still champion, world heavyweight champion, I would have definitely liked Melo to be on Raw, being that they have history together. And with he had Melo's back, or Melo had his back when Seth was defending the world heavyweight title, and I forgot against who it was, but Melo was very thoroughly involved. And so I would have really liked that if Seth was still champion. But I mean, either way, if you want to put Melo somewhere, I could definitely see him being a Monday night guy for sure. Monday Night Melo.
That works.
Said, what round of the draft do you see Carmelo Hayes going in?
Ooh, that's a good question. No later than third.
Okay.
No later than the third pick from either brand. But I do believe it's going to be Monday Night Melo, for the simple fact, unless they do a switch here, because Braun already signed to SmackDown. I think the goal is to keep those two apart. But I believe it'll be Monday Night Melo for sure. No later than the third round pick.
I like it. It should be very, very interesting for sure. So a couple of quick things before we get out of here. I don't even have time, the kind of time we need to talk about this story that dropped on Vince McMahon today. There's a story that dropped on NBC talking about Vince McMahon's life after WWE. And it seems to be interesting. It seems as though, they've talked to a lot of people close to him, and he is traveling and seemingly living his best life. Traveling to Turks and Caicos. His driver is driving him from Connecticut to New York to have lunch or dinner or, meet with whomever. And every now and again, he is, meeting with his lawyer to talk about different things. Apparently, what they're saying is he's okay with the WWE moving on. Should we be concerned at all? Or has Vince McMahon really moved on? Marie.
I mean, he came back home with what, like 7 kitties and 2 dogs to give away to his friends.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he had cats and dogs on the plane. Like
he picked up a different hobby. He might open up like an animal sanctuary now, like to find something different. I'm not really concerned about it. I think that after the whole lawsuit and stuff that dropped, like he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go off into the sunset, do things my way still, and be away from wrestling, because he needs an infinity break, because he's been doing it for so long and everything like that. I'm not worried. Yes, an infinity break.
All right. So quickly, I know we got to go, but I want to quickly preview, because again, I just don't have time. I wish I had time to talk about this, because this is a kind of another interesting piece. The Young Bucks have talked to Sports Illustrated about the footage last week. And I'll tell you simply what they said, and we'll just move on.
No, I'm kidding.
They said, we have zero regrets. We were given a job to do and we did it. We have zero regrets. And that then leads us into Dynamite tonight, the go-home show for, there's a pay-per-view for AEW this weekend, in case you didn't know. It's called AEW Dynasty, and tonight's card should be interesting. We've got, of course, leading up to it, a mixed tag match, Adam Copeland and Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart and Brody King. We also have Jon Moxley returning as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, which I think is going to be interesting. I don't know that anybody expected him to show up with another world title, but we'll see that here tonight.
You don't want my assessment on it. If you do, we'll be here 2 hours.
Oh Lord,
about
can
why
you
I
give
don't
it
like
to me
it
in 30 seconds?
You have an AEW contracted guy that went over to New Japan Pro Wrestling to win a New Japan belt just to bring it back to the States. It is not going to help New Japan. It's not. Like, man, like New Japan is like very near and dear to my heart. Like, it really is. Like, if Jon Moxley was there for like 2 tours, I would probably be okay with him holding a New Japan title, such as the world title. But if you're just showing up out of the blue to just get the title off of Naito, no, that's not gonna fly with me.
I disagree. Somebody else had something to say, so please, whoever else is going to say something.
No, I was just like, oof, this is out of my depth here. This is out of my depth here.
The thing about New Japan, pretty much ever since 2016, they have had a strong interest in expanding into the United States. It's been very, very obvious. And it's one of the reasons why, they had a Kenny there, they had a Cody there, they had the Bucks there. There was always someone who was a strong American wrestling presence to make that connection for U.S. viewers. I think this very much does that. What's interesting to me is how this will connect the dots for AEW. I think Moxley, he's a former U.S. champion there in New Japan. Him holding titles there is not, it's not foreign to New Japan. And I think his schedule is as such where he could certainly go over there and defend whenever necessary. I don't think that that's an issue. I'm probably more interested in how this impacts whatever they're going to do for Forbidden Door. Because what I do think is unfair in this partnership between New Japan and AEW is it's always felt a wee bit one-sided, and that being on the side of AEW. It's never felt like New Japan has come in as an equal player. And that goes past Forbidden Door. I mean, you go to any episode of Dynamite or Rampage or Collision, they will parade a New Japan star out there only for that New Japan star to get defeated. And now with AEW signing so many New Japan stars as a part of AEW, what does Forbidden Door really look like?
That's exactly why I don't like the way that this happened. And I do agree with you that, for the most part, when New Japan guys come over to AEW, they do get beat. And I also agree with you that, we had the Kennys, we had the Americans to go over to New Japan and win New Japan titles. However, my whole thing is that, if you say you love something, You should get the opportunity to be there for at least 2 tours, to put in the work back to back to back, to build up story, to build up really good matches. So that way I could be like, yes, I will be right behind you. I will be your cheerleader. Go get that belt off of that person because it is your time. I just want to see more of an effort rather than like take 2 years off. He comes back, beats Naito. Like what? Like Naito winning the belt was because this was his last hurrah before he retires because he has a lot of banged up injuries. Why couldn't they, give it to somebody else down the line or give it to Moxley down the line as we pass like the G1? Imagine if Moxley won the G1, then I'll be like, all right, cool. You could go after Naito, go get the belt. But this here is just like, man, really? I just want a workhorse in New Japan.
It's weird not acknowledging Jon Moxley as a workhorse, but
listen,
I digress because he has worked in both companies significantly. The time he's put in New Japan has been significant. I will say that he just took some time off of everywhere, period, to heal up, and he deserved that after the way he's carried, AEW and the like. I'll be interested to see if what he says tonight gives us some indication in terms of how frequently he'll be heading to Japan. And here's the thing, being a part of New Japan is also being a part of New Japan Strong, which is in the States. That's New Japan's doing. So, again, we can look at Eddie Kingston, who is the strong open weight champion. And he's been pulling double duty as well in multiple companies. So it's going to be interesting to see Moxley as champion. I didn't expect to see him there so soon tonight, but he will be there tonight. We'll also see, this is must-see TV right here, Taz brokering a meeting between Hook and Chris Jericho. Exactly what you need to lead into a pay-per-view. Also, I'm interested in this one, seriously. Orange Cassidy and Shane Taylor. I love what's happening with Shane Taylor. Should be a great one. But this one, I don't even know what to do with this. Will Ospreay versus Claudio Castagnoli gets announced on Twitter.
Marketing.
This match is a marquee match. It's a pay-per-view level match. Why are we announcing? I mean, I should be over it. I shouldn't be expending energy on this. I know this is how these AEW things happen. I know it. It happens like this every single week. We got Shibata versus Ospreay in the same way. It was like, what? Okay. But anyway, it's all happening tonight. And if anyone is concerned, we will see, of course, Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland ahead of their world title match. And then, on the women's side, Deonna Purrazzo and Mariah May. And also, for anybody who's interested, we'll find out, hopefully tonight, who attacked Mercedes Moné in the latest great mystery in AEW. We'll find that out tonight, which I think should be very interesting. This has been a full house, an amazing show today, and I hope you guys have appreciated. We've gone a little long, but we were supersized today. We're all in the building, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Reggie, man, thank you for joining us. Let people know what you have going on and how they can catch all that you're doing on social media and everywhere else.
First, I got to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast being with all of you. And honey, happy birthday again. And you can check me out on Twitter and on Instagram, Reggie Wade NYC. And I work at The Daily Show. So if you want to laugh before you go to bed at night, check that out. Comedy Central, 11 o'clock. And can't wait to do this again.
We love to see it. Marie, how can we find you? And of course, let us know how to get a hold of your book as well.
Well, this was fantastic. I just get very passionate about New Japan. That's all it is. But if you want my book, it is a one more match wrestling planner for content creators, fans, and also podcasters too. That come with a note section, a calendar, even your own section to like color in the stars for whatever match rating you want to give your your favorite match. It is available on Barnes and Nobles. Currently, just hit me up in DMs and I'll send you guys like the link to go get it off of Barnes and Nobles. Other than that, follow me on Twitter at Marie_Shadows. My YouTube channel is here right on YouTube, so Square Circle Podcast. There's a lot more videos coming to my channel. And I also stream on Twitch too. So twitch.tv/Marie_Shadows. And MD, seriously, he's like, buy the book even if you can't read, sir. Well, he's right. I mean, there's like lines, you write it yourself. But I really love you guys. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome sauce. Said, how can the people find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at says, on the gram at said is the answer. I don't got nothing to promote today. I will say a couple things though. I do want Tony D'Angelo arrested for murder. This is his third time committing murder, and we're just overlooking that in storyline mode. Number two, I would like the boss lady to be present because this is my anniversary week. How is she missing time on the job? And I can't even tell the story of how we met to the masses. So I'm gonna start levying fines if she misses a Friday. Just put that out there. Number three, Mr. Hickenbottom, I need Lola Vice merch. What are we waiting on? I just checked WWE shop. All I see is a plaque and it's not even signed. I need the shirts. But that's all I got today.
That's great. That was great. Honey, how can the people find you?
You can find me here with the crew Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. You can also find me here on Fridays at 8 o'clock every Friday for SmackDown, for Honey SmackDown Watch Along. Check out my socials, Wrestling with Honey TikTok, Wrestling with Honey Instagram, Wrestling W Honey Facebook, and the YouTube page is going to be up and running soon, Wrestling with Honey Podcast. Also, check out my Honey Pot predictions that I do before Monday Night Raw on Mondays and also on Fridays before SmackDown as well.
Awesome sauce. Of course, you guys can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. I've got a few things up on my socials today. Some more promo work for Ashe Wrestling. Ashe Cosmos takes place this Friday in Concord, North Carolina. It's going to be insane. You guys are not going to want to miss it. And you'll also be able to check out the live stream at AsheWrestling.com. You will likely see me somewhere around those parts. You can also check out my commentary work with Southern Honor Wrestling, and we just dropped our latest show, SHW 61. Check that out, as well as IWE. That's all on IWTV. You can check out my work with the Nightmare Factory on their YouTube page, along with Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. The debut episode is there. And, of course, my work with All Caribbean Wrestling is on their YouTube channel as well. We had some fun in Philly and several other places, so make sure you guys check it out. In terms of women's wrestling talk, follow us at WW Talk Pod across all of the social spaces. Lots of amazing content that you want to check out, including, of course, some great interviews coming from WrestleMania week. Some great interviews with some NWA talent is up as well. You can check that out also at www.talkpod.com. All of the great things are there. Shout out to everybody in the chat. MDB, Jeffrey, Matt, Special Little Nobodies, Cousin Ron, of course, Boza, Squared Circle Podcast, which is you, Marie. Thank you for doing double duty. We appreciate you. Man, there were so many people. Barry Monkey is here. A lot of people were joining us. Eric was in the building and so many others. Thank you all for hanging out with us. And once again, a big happy birthday to you, honey. You have certainly made our platform that much better with your presence. And we are super pumped to see all that will happen with you in the future. We've got a great squad here. So until the next time, and there's still a lot of great shows coming your way. We've got an ROH post show. Honey will be back with the SmackDown Watch Along Friday. We'll also have WWT Live and a few other things. So make sure you're checking it all out. Here's part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.